The wait is over. You were waiting, right?
Oh, God. No. Please, no.
The end is nigh. Darwin and Cat are back.
This is our 25th episode, and we wanted to celebrate by giving you a chance to participate. Recently, Kat and I put out a call on social media to both our longtime radio show listeners and our new podcast followers. What do you want to know? And you responded loudly. So today, we're doing our very first AMA. Welcome to Darwin and Cat Ask Us Anything.
I've got some good questions, and I'm wondering, Darwin, if any of mine overlap with yours. So I'll just pull out the first one, and it says, "Hey, Kat, glad you're back. Love the podcast. Thank you. Have you and Darwin ever hooked up?"
No. No.
Do you want to jump in here, Dar?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's the gay thing.
Oh, that.
There's that. But to be fair, if I were into girls, I'd have definitely tried. I'm not going to lie.
Aw, thanks.
So I got to say, this is going to be weird. Like, I, in the past, had friends that I may or may not have, whatever, and just was friends with later on. So that wouldn't have ruined the friendship, at least not for me. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure we always kept our clothes on. Although there was that one time you did get to see more than you expected in New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah. I got an eyeful. By the way, looking good, man. There was one time we were at a remote. I don't know if you remember this, but you squeezed by me in a hallway and you accidentally touched my boob and you wiped your hand off on your pants.
I remember that.
It was the most you girls moment I've ever seen. It was so funny.
Why am I like that? Why am I so weird? Like, what?
Okay, let me add a little detail. Not only did you wipe your hand on your pants, you looked at your hand first to see the girl on it, and then maybe corduroy will get this off.
I remember this. Yes. I actually remember this. I looked at my hand like, ugh.
Help?
It was like, why am I like that? It was like, it wasn't like you were lactating or something. It was just because I brushed your boob.
Even if I was squirting straight at you, I mean, like, these things happen, but no, there was nothing going on.
And it was like, why do I do this stuff? I do this. Why? What is wrong with me? I'm so sorry.
No need to apologize. It's one of my favorite moments in my entire life. I'm not kidding.
Weird.
Yeah. Do you want to grab the next question? Or do you have more to say? Oh, jeez. Oh, I stepped in it. I did
Sure. All right. This is a question for both of us. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck.
I know. I'm still picturing it.
I don't know why you put up with me. All right. The question's for both of us. What is your guilty pleasure TV show? I'll start with this one. Mine changes from time to time. Like, I have a pretty broad range. So right now I'm really into watching clips of Shameless. But I'll go through phases of like Rockford Files. We've talked about that before. Sometimes I'm into some other random thing like the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which none of those things have anything to do with each other. We love
Mary. We both love her.
And when we were doing Darwin and Cat radio show during the DCRS days, I was obsessed with Sons of Anarchy. Remember that?
Yep.
Really into that show. And I was a big fan of Schitt's Creek when that was out, but who wasn't? And I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That show I either love or it makes me really depressed because it's so depraved.
They're just awful people.
Yeah, they're just awful people. Yep.
And I really loved a show called Briar Patch that only lasted a season. Rosario Dawson was in it. It was on USA. It was kind of like if Quentin Tarantino did a TV show. And I was so disappointed. It was like 2019 or 2020. And I was really sad it only lasted a season.
I never heard about that. So I don't really believe in guilty pleasures. I freely admit how dorky my taste is. But in the spirit of the question, Brady Bunch. It's always the Bunch because that is the family that I want. I want a gay dad with a perm, a live-in maid, and a dog I never have to walk because he disappeared after the first season. That's Brady Bunch, it's perfect in my eyes.
And you also have another connection to the show because you introduced me to somebody you knew who ruined the show.
Well, okay, I do. For many years, I know Robbie Rist. He was Cousin Oliver. I have to push back a little bit. I don't think he ruined the show. I think the show was like swirling in the bowl before Robbie joined.
Robbie did not ruin the show.
Yeah, no. But it's,
he jokes about that online.
Oh, too. He does. He embraces the whole thing. And it's really funny, though, because when people say that on Reddit, like, Cousin Oliver ruined the show, I get strangely defensive. Like, no, he didn't. But, and I'm not going to argue with internet strangers.
He also was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show right before it ended, too.
Yes, he was Ted and Georgette's son. Oh, my God, right before it ended. Maybe he is. The
Yeah,
show
there's a whole
killer.
thing that
Yeah.
he
Yep.
any show he was on, he destroyed.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
he
love
didn't.
Robbie. I know him from
Yeah,
my band days, so because he's a musician and he's kind of like a Dave Grohl who can play everything.
the only time I saw you get really passionately upset with me when we were doing a TV show debate thing one day, like Munsters or Addams Family, Genie or Bewitched, and I said Brady's or Partridge Family.
Brady's.
and I went with Partridge Family.
Yeah, I
and you
took that to heart.
You did.
Yeah, I
you were
did.
upset. I think I liked their bus, and I think I liked their music. They had music.
I liked the Brady music. I mean, Time to Change and Going Down the Highway in a Makeshift Model TA. Woo. That's a pretty solid song.
I Think I Love You.
Okay.
Cherish.
All
Come
right.
on.
All right. I can only name like 2 Brady songs. I
That's good. But the
back
Brady
out of
Bunch
that.
is forever. And
Yep.
we all quote the Brady Bunch still.
And everything was wrapped up within 22 minutes.
That's true. And there's no Partridge Family memes out there, to be fair.
Yeah. I haven't seen any Keith memes.
No.
Or that
no. All
girl.
right.
Oh, one thing that pissed me off though about the Partridge Family.
Yeah.
Tracy played the tambourine. Why do girls always play tambourine or keyboards? Can't we have a girl drummer? Can't we have a girl shredding on guitar? Nope, not in that family.
Well, I know a girl drummer.
You do. Oh, we might get that to that later.
Okay, so I'll wait for that.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a question, and I don't know if I bet you got this question too. Do you want to look through your questions and you want me to ask it and see if you got the same one?
Yeah, go for it.
So I get a couple questions about us. If we're friends, are we actually still friends? Are we doing this for money? No, we're not doing it for money. Has our friendship changed since the radio show? I got a few of those. Did you get anything like that?
Yes, I have a very similar one. Hey, are you guys still friends? And this says, has the friendship evolved since the radio show?
So I got the same one. I think somebody gave us both the same.
Okay.
All right. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. So I'll say, yes, we are friends. And yes, we are more evolved now. I think that proves it. We are, I'd say we're just kinder and more forgiving with each other. But as you can hear, not really much else has changed.
You said we're more evolved now. Is that a Darwin joke?
Yeah. Yep.
No, but you're right. I think the kind of friendship we have is pretty special. It's unbreakable. And even when we thought it was broken, I think it was actually fractured. I think we were broken as people. Like we were, in bad marriages and bad places. But now we're married to our best friends. And outside of our spouses, we're each other's best friends,
This
too.
is true. This is really true.
And I always joke, you're me with a vagina. Ooh, I said vagina.
Wow.
But
I'm proud of you. You said it like all in one breath, like vagina. Usually you break it up like
well, I kind of did like a...
Yeah, you did shudder.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did. But we're kind of the male and female version of the same person in many ways. And I'm proud of that. Like,
I have less gas
yeah.
than you.
I eat better now. I'm less gassy than I used to be. Want to go for a ride in the car with the windows up and the heat cranked?
Yeah, no thanks. Okay. Okay. So this next question I have, and it ties into something you just said.
Okay.
Kat, you keep mentioning being in a band. What band were you in? And did you play the bonophone? Really? The
Bonophone.
No, not that, nor the skin flute. Okay, the band I was in was called Super Heroines. It's an all-girl death rock band. A couple notable members. Jill Emery played bass. She went on to play bass with Hole, and Mazzy Star. She's not the dead one in Hole. She's alive and well.
Wasn't Kurt Cobain the dead one in Hole?
Yeah, you could say he was an extra Hole. Eva O, the deathrock queen, she played guitar, and I played drums. So I started playing drums when I was a little kid. You know how you bang on pots and pans and drive your parents crazy. But I actually started playing professionally when I was 15. In fact, I didn't go to my prom because I had a gig that night. Also, nobody asked me.
What's up with that? Really?
I was a weirdo punk rocker in my high school. No, nobody wanted to go to the prom with me. But I'm like, well, I have a gig anyway. So that
You're
worked
like, I'm
out.
busy. Anyway.
I'm really too busy to go out with a cute guy. Sob.
Somebody asked me too if I play an instrument. I got the same question. Would you play an instrument?
This isn't about the bonophone, is it?
No, this isn't about the bonophone.
Okay.
Trumpet. Trumpet was my instrument. I know I'm not as cool as you. I wasn't a drummer.
I think that's very cute. I love the trumpet.
But it wasn't what I chose originally. When I was
anybody really choose the trumpet originally? Is trumpet kind of third or fourth on the list, like even after wood blocks?
Basically, that's kind of what. So I was in fourth grade going to fifth grade, and we had this assembly. All the instruments were laid out, and of course, everyone wanted the saxophone because that was Cool.
Smooth and
So
romantic,
Yeah,
unwieldy.
it was like, yeah, it was ready to roll, right? A little fifth grader. I was going to be all, I don't know.
You
It's gonna be
wanted to play an instrument that was half the size of you. But
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
not to be.
So I brought home the price list, and when my parents looked at it, they were basically poor. Like they were lower middle class, and they were like, we can't afford that. My mother was like, percussion's out of the question. I think she felt a drum kit would come home and not those little pads you practice on.
Yeah, that's how I started. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think she understood that. So she was like, no percussion. I'm like, ugh. So yeah, this is like, we're getting down to fourth or something on the list. And she goes, well, why not trumpet? Those are cheap.
We'll go to Earl's Discount Trumpet Mart and pick you up one.
That basically, yeah, it was like, I'm like, all right. But for some reason, and she was worried about noise with the drums, but for some reason it didn't occur to her that trumpet is a pretty loud, obnoxious, brassy instrument.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
not a petite little sound. It's not like, oh, did I just hear a hummingbird? I'm not sure.
it was completely the opposite of that. And lucky for her, I was actually a natural at it once I got used to the mouthpiece and how to do it. So, and I was really good at sight reading. One time, this is actually kind of a funny story. There was this kid who was like third or fourth generation trumpet player. His grandfather and great grandfather were all trumpet players, and he was really into it. And we were in band. He kept screwing up the part, and I was playing it perfectly. And the conductor stops everybody, and he points me out, and he's like, how many hours a week do you practice? And I never did, but I knew if I said that, I was dead. So I was like, or day, how many hours do you practice a day? I'm like, 2-3 hours. I made it up.
Oh my God.
So this guy gets all mad and tries to throw me under the bus. He's like, he's a liar. He doesn't ever even take it out of his locker, blah, 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 blah. So the conductor got so mad.
Little narc.
He calls him a liar, which he wasn't. I was.
Wow.
And he demotes him from first seat, like on the spot,
Oh my God.
and gives it to me.
That was probably the beginning of the end of his life. I bet it was all downhill for little trumpet player.
This was like high school, like by this point, actually.
Wow.
He got so mad, he hit me in the head with his mouthpiece, and like, he was crazy. And he ended up being the Christian pastor. Like he's still out there now preaching the good word or whatever the hell, and still playing his trumpet, I'm sure.
Or maybe it's like in a case in his office and he looks at it and a little tear comes down his eye and he's like, damn it, that kid.
But yeah, I would like to still play, but I also don't want a divorce. And I say that because they have an electronic practice mute. So you plug it in, use headphones with it, but they're like $250.
Aha. Well, I got around that because I married a drummer.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. Eric is an amazing drummer. He plays in a very different style than we do, but we just we tap on everything. We're really special.
That is so cool. Chris has never
Together.
learned to play an instrument. He does not know
Really?
any instruments. But I don't want to torture him by making him hear me pick up trumpet again either.
You don't want to do that to him. That is the test of a marriage. That and bagpipes.
Yes. I don't want to do either. So
Yeah. So that's the story of our musical lives.
one of these days I might. One of these days. We'll
Dude,
see.
you got to whip out the trumpet on the show. And that's not a euphemism for anything that would get us kicked off YouTube.
Maybe we'll see. I'll give it some thought. How's that?
I'll play along in a little cowbell and you play the trumpet and then.
No, you'll get your drum kit. We'll make this a whole Darwin and Cat's musical review.
Oh, God.
Okay.
It's a hoot,
Let's go
Nanny.
on to another
All right,
question.
Yeah, please.
All right. This one is a question for me about you.
Oh, God.
Darwin, is there something that Cat did you still bring up or tease her about? Now, there's a lot of things, but I thought of one recently. I was on a field trip for work to Albany, and I remembered something you did there. You're laughing.
Because I think I know what you're going to say. So,
So we were-
spill it.
We were broadcasting live from Giants training camp. Yeah, this is the one.
Okay.
So it was us on the edge, and then ESPN radio and Fox Sports radio on our little broadcast booths and tents. And I don't know why the hell we were there, but we were. So Kat meets me there. And so along comes Kat walking up, and she's got a baseball mitt. You're all proud of this. This was my mitt when I was a kid. And I'm like, why? Why would you bring a baseball glove to Giants training camp? And then you said,
The Giants are a baseball team. They have a rivalry with the Dodgers. I know this. I'm from Los Angeles.
and I'm like, Kat, the Giants are a football team. That's why we're here today. So that became known as Kat's football mitt.
I still have my football mitt. I agree. I should have done my due diligence, but I just figured the Giants. Okay, yeah, they're from San Francisco. There's bats and balls, and I played when I was a kid.
You were close. You were
I was
close.
so embarrassed. And the thing is, why were we with the two premier sports broadcasting networks and then the Darwin and Cat radio show?
Well, I don't know why they booked us there. And to your credit, you wanted to get into the spirit of things.
I really was proud of myself. I'm like, because I've seen people bring their glove to a ball game. Like, hey, maybe Mookie Wilson will hit something toward me. I don't know.
You were very enthused, and I was very confused.
You popped my balloon. That's okay. Yeah. So that's my football mitt.
I still pick on you for it.
Yeah,
too.
a little
It's
bit.
great. Hey, you tried. An effort was made.
Thank you for the E for effort.
I got another one about.
Not about me.
No, this one's about me.
Oh, good.
It's kind of a weird one. Darwin, what were you like as a kid?
Ooh, well, you've already mentioned that you hated Halloween.
And we went over that in an episode. It's true. Well, I hated children when I was one. I was one of those people.
So weird.
I mean, I was a bookworm. Like, I loved learning things and reading, and I was a nerd. And then when I got a little older, I used to be like one of those kids that was always on their bike, like everywhere.
Oh, that was
like,
you. Did you have a little bell, ding, ding, in a basket?
No.
Or were you had a cool bike?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I had little things on my spokes that moved up and down,
Oh,
made
respect,
noise.
man.
Yeah, I had like a Garfield reflector on my wheel at one
That's
point.
badass. Yeah.
Yeah, it came out of like a Post cereal, then I got a little older and got rid of that. But I was kind of a loner for a long time. I was just my books and my bike. That was my thing. And then as I got older, I mean, I wasn't a real rebellious teenager. I think I did a lot of that in college. It was kind of I don't want to say a vanilla kid in some ways, but I mean, I'm still same personality, very animated and talkative. And I played sports in high school. I would say I had a really generic high school experience. Not, I had no friends, and then I had all the friends. Does that make sense?
Sure.
It's like
You bloomed one day, and everyone's like,
yeah,
Darwin, I want to hang out with that kid.
yeah. I was kind of with the kids that were in drama club and the football team. It was both.
Rangy.
It was weird. Yeah, I was just kind of that. I don't know. I was like, I'm really extroverted, but I'm also weirdly introverted at times too, and that's never changed.
I think that's why we get along so well, because you understand my weirdness, because I'm an extreme introvert. If there's like a spectrum, I'm like all the way on the is she a crazed loner side, but I've trained myself to talk to other humans. And even friends of mine who knew me as a kid, they're like, wow, you grew up and you talk for a living? You never talked. Well, here I am.
We get that with each other.
Yeah, we just get that. Yeah.
And I can be really shy at times you don't expect, and other times I'm not. It's just hard to explain to people. 'Cause people that don't know me very well will pin me as an extrovert. Like, oh, you're such an extrovert. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not.
Right. People will
And same with you.
Yeah, people will pin me as an extrovert because I can be very gregarious and I love being with my friends. But then I have a time limit and I go home and I collapse in my little dark room with my books and my cats.
Or sometimes I'll go to a restaurant and I'll go in and I don't want to go up to the like where they seat you and be like table for four.
The hostess
I'll get
stand.
shy. Yeah, the hostess stand.
Yeah.
I'll get shy with that.
They're
Weird.
judging. Table for four? Really? We had a 12 top over here. You only have 3 other friends? Yeah, they're judging me. I don't want to talk to them.
Oh God, I don't think of it that way, but now I'm going to. Thanks, Kat.
You're welcome. I had to plant that seed.
Now, sometimes I'll go up and say something stupid. I'll go up and I'll say 3, but I won't count myself. I'll just count the 3 people with me.
You got to think more of yourself, Darwin. You got to believe in yourself and include yourself.
I'm here. I exist too. I deserve a seat at this table of 4 instead of 12.
Oh, I have one.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Kat, your wife swap appearance was a big moment. How did you handle the public attention?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah, well, truth is, reality show fame doesn't last very long, but it was intense for just like a little while. You know, it was weird. Oh, I don't know if you remember this, Darwin. My doorbell rang, and this was the days I would actually answer my door. And I answered the door, and these 3 girls, these teenage girls were standing there.
Oh, yeah,
and they
I remember
snapped a picture of me and screamed and ran away.
I remember that.
That was probably the weirdest thing, you know, other than just I live forever on Hulu now.
I know. That's the other one. And speaking of which, if you would like to find her on Hulu,
Oh boy.
season 4, episode 10, right? Is that correct? Season 4, episode 10?
Yes.
Okay. So back in January, we released episode 14 of the podcast talking about Kat's appearance on Wife Swap. So if you want to go back and listen to that, in case you're wondering, I was on it too, more of a supporting cast role, but If you haven't listened to that episode yet, you should. It's super informative about the show and just reality TV in general. And, it's, I think it kind of framed that reality TV fame doesn't last long, but we are going to milk it for everything we can right now.
Sure, why not?
And what was the guy remember the guy that kept asking you the same questions? Where do you live and how much do you weigh?
Yeah, for 10 years, he emailed me and said, what is your address and how much do you weigh? Nothing
So
weird
what's your
there,
address?
right?
Where are you now? Well, what if those girls want a picture now? What if they can't find you?
And what if they want to know if I'll fit in the picture? Like, how much does she weigh? Do we need a wide angle lens? No, I'm pretty petite.
No, you're looking good. You're looking real good.
Thank you.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, I have one right here. Hey, what was the wildest moment that you had on air?
Wildest moment.
Wildest moment.
I have one that was chaos, but it was at EQX. I don't know if I ever told you about this.
Lay it on me.
So did you? I don't think you ever had the misfortune of a power outage there, did you?
No.
You're lucky.
Yeah, because that house was haunted. I wouldn't want to be in the dark there.
Well, yeah. So they had a procedure there. There was no standby generator that kicked in automatically. It was one that was out in the tool shed that you had to portable things. You had to set it up. You had to go through this crazy process when the power went out. You had to go down to the creepy basement in this old Victorian house, and you had to flip off certain breakers that were like in the dark too. You had to figure this all in the dark.
Right. The murderer is behind you and breathing on your neck. I can see it.
And you know what? To your credit, there probably was a ghost murderer there.
Of course there was.
You're probably right. And then you had to go put the generator on the front porch and start it. And then you had to go back inside and you had to drop a really long extension cord out of the window from the studio that was on the second floor.
My God.
And then you had to go back in and plug this cord into a special outlet in the studio to backfeed the studio.
What was this, like 1930? Like,
yeah,
how
it was crazy.
Antiquated was this?
And if you didn't do all the breakers right, this could have been dangerous too.
Great.
The generator is making all these weird noises and things in the studio are kind of not working right. And then Brooks showed up out of nowhere, the owner.
Yarg.
He's like, what'd you do to the generator?
You killed the generator, Darwin.
I just turned it on. And then the awful boss showed up too.
Okay.
I don't need them. I need them outside doing something with the generator, not in the studio bugging me. That's where they were. And then the end.
They were cramping your style.
Yes, they were literally hovering, and the Enco went down, which was the automation where all the music was. So I had to play stuff off CD. And then one by one, as the generator is dying slowly, it's generating less power. So pieces of equipment are just one by one dying. Yeah, they're just shutting down. So CD1 dies. And now I only have CD2.
Let me just ask you real quick. Did you have any good CDs on hand, or did you have to grab like the best of Air Supply?
Well, you remember the whole wall?
Oh, right. We had a library. We had a whole. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm trying to just grab anything that looks in the dark, like it's not going to be awful.
Or have the F word in it or all that.
Yes. Because some of them were the full album.
Yep.
And
they were not radio
like,
edits.
No. And some of them I'm thinking like, ooh, I hope, this one is, I'm trying to pick songs that are hopefully okay. So then the CD players fail. And basically I'm down to the board, the mic, and the studio to transmitter link are the only pieces of equipment running. Brooks is like, Darwin, tell a story, just talk. Like,
do it, tap dance, little monkey, entertain us.
So I start telling a story, and I don't know what he's doing. He's playing, he's got the board is open, he's playing with wires. I'm like, what are you doing?
He's reanimating the dead inside there.
Yes. And it's just, and they're both of them keep saying, keep talking. And I'm like, why am I talking? To keep us on something on the air. I'm like, and then finally I turn off the mic and I'm like, why am I talking? Like, what, till when? They're like, till the power comes back.
Is there any sort of like generic game show music? Do 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 do. You can just play for a while.
With what?
Oh,
the
that's
CD players
right.
died.
Oh gosh. This would have been a great time for your trumpet.
Only if you were there, Kat.
Missed opportunity.
So finally, I turn off the mic because I've run out of things to talk about. I went through my grocery list. Literally, I went through what I was buying for groceries. Like,
and then in the asparagus aisle, I spotted the peaches. What were they doing there?
Nobody knows. Right. It was terrible. So I turned off the mic and I was like, why don't we just sign the station off the air? And dumbfounded, they look at each other and was like, that's a good idea. So I just turned on the mic and I'm like, in accordance with regulations as set forth by the FCC, station WEQX now leaves the air. I did the whole sign off thing. We signed off the air. That was the wildest thing ever. It was crazy.
How long were you off the air?
We signed off the air, and I think the power came back maybe about an hour later. So it was, but like hovering over me and just talk. You do run out of stuff to say eventually.
That never helps a Toastmaster tell a story. This
No,
one-eyed giant staring at you. Keep talking.
That's what it was. Like, what it was. Just keep talking. I'm like,
And then
about what?
in my kindergarten Christmas pageant, oh God,
It was literally stories like that.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I'm talking about. It was like a person losing their mind live on the air.
well, I don't have anything that scary, but I do have one little story. See if you remember this. So on the Darwin and Cat radio show on ZMR, we had a special guest in the studio who promptly fell asleep, right? Stretched out on the floor. This person had just come off a tour and was like exhausted. Can you hear
air
the
quotes.
air quotes? Exhausted. And then our boss K-Cal walks in, and to Kevin's credit, he just looked at the person on the floor and looked at us and was completely unfazed and went, all right, just walked out. And it was just another day in radio.
I do remember that. I forgot that till right now.
Hey,
Shrugged. He just shrugged.
Down on the floor. Do you have anything to plug? Do you want to talk about the album? No, he's out.
And their manager was there too. His manager's like, that's okay.
And I was thinking, like, do we check for a pulse? Should we hold a mirror, see if it fogs? Like, how out are you, sir?
And then just woke up and was like,
hey,
I gotta
go.
go.
Gotta go. Okay, interview's over.
And I think we're technically under a non-disclosure agreement about that. We can't say who it was.
Said who it was.
Yeah. I forgot all about that.
Mm-hmm. Being on tours is tiring.
On that note, I'm going to give you the next question I got.
Okay.
What guest surprised you the most? And I will say we did a whole episode on this topic in January. Worst guests ever, episode 12. I think this might be the answer for the both of us, right?
I'm thinking of someone.
You want to tell the story?
Was this the guy who screamed 2 words in an interview that are a complete showstopper?
The one time we were left speechless and didn't know what to do?
And those 2 words are, I'm autistic. That was Travis Meeks from Days of the New. Yeah, we tell the entire story, but we were interviewing him and it was a little hard to get information out of him, and he was kind of awkward, but it wasn't that big a deal. And then he told us why he was having trouble that day.
But it was unprompted out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really wasn't like connected to anything.
And he just said it just in a really weird way too.
And that's fine. You're on the spectrum. God bless. I have a lot of friends and family on the spectrum, but yeah, that was kind of the interview stopper.
It was, we did. It was fine. We would have talked about that, but the way he dropped it out of nowhere.
Yep. And it was just like laying there on the floor, like that guy who was asleep. Like, I don't know what to do with this.
And his tone of voice, the way he said it, was just bizarre too.
Well, he yelled it very loudly and it was kind of resonating in our headphones.
Unprompted. We're like, And I again, you can go back and listen to the whole episode.
Okay, I'm autistic. Well, I'm a Leo. I don't know. Do we get along?
And I awkwardly didn't. That surprised us the most. Definitely. That was a surprise. Here's one for you. Okay, technically it's not for you, but
okay. And it seems like it would be for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, this one seems like it would be for you. That's a good way to put it. Wait till you hear it though. You're gonna.
Oh no! What is it? It's not about the foot. It wasn't about the football mitt again, right?
No.
Okay. All right.
Were there? I'm laughing at my own joke. Were there any technical disasters that derailed your show? Well, yeah, this is your department. I kid.
Oh God. Okay. Well, my whole life on air is a technical disaster, but let me think. 2 stick out. When we were broadcasting from the RV, we had to get on at 6 a.m. and we mentioned this on the episode. They left us to die in the RV of joy.
Yes.
But you, Darwin, saved the day. You got us on the air with like 2 strings and a coconut Gilligan's Island style. So that's one, but that's not anything that I caused. That was kind of like external circumstances. But this one was at EQX. And it was the first time, maybe you could help explain this, but it was the first time I had to do one of those emergency broadcast things. When it breaks in and goes, emergency broadcast system, blah, blah, blah.
The EAS alert. Yeah.
And there was like a bunch of steps you had to do, I was sure that I'd somehow blown up the EQX transmitter site.
So the EAS it's set up basically to interrupt the audio chain, and you can't stop it once it goes.
Right.
You have an option if you're in the station to manually transmit it over the air, or if you don't do it within a set amount of time, it'll go on its own because, well, if it's an emergency, it needs to go over the air.
And that's when everything blows up, or no?
No, you felt like you did. Because I think what happened was you didn't realize, like, when you push the button to send it, because you had to stop. You could stop down the music and do it at a spot so it didn't interrupt everything.
Oh.
Nobody told you. I think nobody told you that when you push the button, the machine prints out a receipt.
Yeah. You're
And that
telling me this
scared you.
now. Yeah.
Because the machine, you have to staple the receipt to your program log to prove to the FCC that you actually ran the test or the alert.
Right. And don't use a paper clip. It has to be stapled.
Yes, that was our rule there.
And I'm
That was a
looking
big
at this
rule.
big giant machine, and it's like a computer on the Twilight Zone that spits out like all this ticker tape. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, so it was really noisy, the unit they
It's
had.
throwing up paper on me.
But I think what happened with you is you pushed it, and the machine was like, and when the alert goes, the machine also makes noise too. So you have it going over the air. The machine is like itself, and then it's like, and it sounds like a dot matrix printer almost too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you were so panicked you started pushing buttons.
Yeah. I fucked it all up, and I blew up a small village somewhere with those.
But I think you
levers
ended
and
up sending
buttons.
it again twice.
Shoot. Okay. So yeah. So is there
was
like
good.
a statute of limitations with the FCC? They won't come after me for that stapled piece of paper now. Ms.
Yeah, you're
Noel, while we were knock at the door, like, oh shit, hide.
You got one for me?
Yeah. What was the worst on-air mistake you've made, Darwin?
I think we just heard yours. No, I'm kidding. Mine was, I guess, the worst thing you can do on the air besides dead air or evacuating a whole state, I think would be swearing, right?
Oh, that's a bad one. Yep. Don't do that.
I only swore once. I don't know if I ever told you this either. I did. I swore once,
Wow.
and it was accidental, and it was at EQX. Did I ever
Ooh.
tell you this?
No.
I was outroing Rage Against the Machine, Renegades of Funk.
Oh, I can see where this is going.
Yes. And I said, it was 1027 WEQX, Renegades of Fuck. And I just kept going like nothing happened. I just
Right. You
continued on my way.
didn't try to backpedal and go, Renegades
Nope.
of Phuket. It's in Thailand. No.
I didn't apologize for it. I didn't say oops. I didn't, just glazed over it.
No
Well, people started
idea what
calling
you're
in.
talking about, FCC person.
Yeah, people started calling in, like, and I was just denying it. I'm like, really? I said, you hear things on the air. I'm like, oh my God. Oh,
Gaslight him a
no.
little bit. Right.
Oh,
Just
totally.
your
Oh,
brain
yeah, totally.
turns funk into different things.
Yeah, it was totally it. And I got lucky because there's something called the skim, where so most radio stations are always recording everything going out over the air. So in case something airs inappropriate,
They gotcha.
the skim at the time was down. So I
Oh,
knew
and
there
you
was
didn't
no
just kind of
evidence.
like trip the wire, pull it out of the wall, plug out of the wall.
No,
It really was legit down.
It was legit down.
Okay.
Yeah, we knew it'd been down for a few days, but I forgot about that, and I like for a day was panicking, and then we got an email: the skim has been fixed, the computer's back, you can start getting your air checks again. And I was like, oh my God, there's no evidence of it, and now there is, because here I am.
It's no proof. It's not my
Doesn't
8-ball copper.
Doesn't matter anymore.
I don't
so.
know how it got in my pocket.
You said a bad word once.
I
too.
did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was in another
It
episode
happens.
too.
Yep.
But band vits, right?
Band bits. Hear all
What
about
was
it.
What was it you said again, Miss Cat? What was it you do in a box?
I said I shit in a box like a cat, but it was in context.
Okay.
It's like,
yeah,
how the hell
it
do you
was.
put that in context? Don't you know how to properly use the bathroom, Ms. Noel? Apparently I don't. So I said,
think-
yeah, shit in a box.
Hey, you know what? We got it in the corner of the studio. Who else was going to use it?
Can't let some tidy cat go to waste.
All right. I got a question. This is a good one. This is one that I'm surprised more people didn't just ask us in person back in the day. Do you actually like the music that you played?
Oh, I like that one.
You know what? Yeah, mostly yes. Honestly, yes. Especially at EQX. Alternative was our lane. And even at the Edge, we liked active rock. That was great. But like anywhere, there were some things I absolutely hated. Like at EQX, there were a few of the artists I couldn't stand. U2, I'll put it out there. Like I used to like U2, but I got to the point where I was like, U2 could fart in a Ziploc and this station would play it and everybody would.
Once I just have to say, once I found out that Bono bought a first class plane ticket for his hat, I kind of backed off U2 a bit.
Fair. Yeah. So there were some that I was like, eh. So there's some other bands, artists we played, like Modest Yahoo. Can't stand.
You weren't
Modest
a fan. Nope.
The listeners liked those artists, and so we played them. That was our job, and that was fine. But I absolutely hate the song My Own Worst Enemy by Lit.
Lit. Yep. They had their
Hate it.
moment. They had their 90s moment.
But that is the most chronically overplayed song everywhere I ever worked. Every rock station, whether it was alternative or active or any rock station, I hate it. And there were some other songs I never need to hear again. I'm sure you got a few as well. And but on the edge, one thing that bugged me is we played some really shitty classic rock songs about once an hour that had no reason. They were absolute dog shit. You know what I'm talking about?
I
like
do.
we had the handful.
I do. Sometimes we'd break out Golden Earring, like Twilight Zone, which was like not a favorite of yours. But
there were some bad ones.
Yeah. Like you though, I love the alternative format and all, like a lot of those songs I really loved. And then when we jumped over to the edge, can you kind of explain though for people what active rock means? I don't even know if that term is used anymore.
Sure. I mean, yeah, active rock is the heavier. Some people will misidentify it as heavy metal. It is not heavy metal. So it's more of the more aggressive, more rock forward sound.
Aggressive rock.
Yes, it's more aggressive rock. I mean, alternative radio playing Rage Against the Machine was a little weird because Rage Against the Machine is a lot more of the active sound than it is alternative. But lyrically and culturally, Rage is alternative. That's why they would be an alternative station and an active station. But Nickelback would be on an active station, even though they're more pop.
Yeah.
But culturally, they're active. But someone like, Tool or Nine Inch Nails, they're a crossover too, and we got, so there's a lot of crossover between the formats, but active rock was a lot more hard rock. It was a lot more aggressive.
That brings me to this next band, Breaking Benjamin. They were not on the alternative format. I was introduced to them actually when we got to ZMR. And, I liked them mostly, but I couldn't help calling their song The Diary of Jane, The Diarrhea of Jane.
I loved that. Every time you would say it on the air.
1049 The Edge, Breaking Benjamin, The Diarrhea of Jane. Coming up next hour, we have some great stuff to give away.
And you would just put it out there.
Did
like
I
that. Yeah,
ever get called on it?
Never.
When I had to do
noticed.
like a straight music shift and Diarrhea of Jane. How could I not call it that? It was Jane's. She was sick that day.
I loved it every time. And this song bugged you too.
She ate too many clams at the buffet.
I think I wonder if once in a while I'll hear that song on Sirius XM Turbo, which is basically what we played when we were on the edge. And that was you'll hear that song and I think of you every time and I laugh.
Thank you. Every time I hear a song about diarrhea, you think of me.
No. I don't. That's not what you just did the girl thing to me. You turned it all around.
I said it was such love though. So that was really the only song I hated.
Yeah, I didn't hate a lot of the, actually, most of the active rock stuff we were playing was like Bullet for My Valentine and System of a Down and Godsmack.
I even liked Marilyn Manson.
We did play some Marilyn Manson.
Yep.
That's right. I forgot that. Audio Slave. Well, that would have been kind of Disturbed, Slipknot. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a lot. I actually did not like the Metallica Monday though. I thought that was over.
Oh God, I blocked that out.
I didn't like 3 Days Grace because they were jerks.
They're mean. And Buck Cherry was mean and Trapped were mean.
System of a Down, they were great. So we played a lot of great music. And there were some, I'm thinking, it was just those bad classic rock ones. We were like,
Meh.
All right. Do you have any other? That was kind of it for my questions. Do you have any more?
I have, let's see. I have one last question, and this is for the both of us.
Okay.
Hey, guys, what do you wish you could change about your old morning show? Is there anything? Well, okay. Other than the salary, I'd probably just stop and appreciate what we had and the comedy we were making. And I think we did some really cool stuff. I'd communicate better with you, Darwin, or like an adult. For example, like maybe I would ask you not to fart in my desk drawer instead of just stewing about it. How about you?
I agree on the salary. But I mean, farting in your desk drawer was pretty funny. That was really funny. You have to admit that. All right. So
really
instead,
was.
it was kind of funny. But all right. But instead, I would have conspired with you to fart in someone else's drawer.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I would have farted in the drawer of the coworker who was bragging about how she had a popcorn machine when we were denied a raise.
Oh, that goddamn popcorn machine. We were so jealous that it even had like this little attachment to like sprinkle butter on it. Yum, yum, yum.
Yeah, and she was mad that like some attachment didn't come in time and for her popcorn machine, and we'd just been denied a race. I'd go fart in her drawer.
Sure, I'm with you.
So that would change that. But I think you said that well. Now that we're older and we're more rational, as we're talking about whose drawer we'd fart in, and in solid, healthy marriages, I think we'd be pretty unstoppable.
I agree. Yeah. I think if we could do it all over again, it would go very differently. Oh no, I just thought of one thing else I'd change. I'd probably get a friend for the blow up doll we have in the studio because I don't know, she looked kind of lonely.